Most people live in a financial fog. They don't know where their money goes. They spend to feel better, not to get better. They work all week for a paycheck, and somehow it disappears. Not because they're cursed, not because they're unlucky, but because no one ever taught them the difference between earning a living and designing a life. The broke mindset doesn't begin with an empty wallet. It begins with an empty philosophy. It's a quiet virus, passed down through habits, excuses, and entertainment. And here's the danger. You can be broke in your bank account and never feel broke because you're numbing yourself with distractions, debt, or denial. Until one day you wake up and realize you traded your potential for convenience. So the question is not, why am I broke? The question is, how long will I let broke thinking run my life? Because the moment you change your philosophy, the game changes. You don't have to be rich to start, but you do have to think rich to stop staying broke. And if you're willing, if you're hungry, if you're ready to stop borrowing time and start building a future, then stay with me. Because in the next few minutes, we're going to expose the traps that keep people poor, and more importantly, we're going to lay down a plan to break free. A plan that doesn't require talent, luck, or magic, just awareness, courage, and daily discipline. Let's begin. Let me tell you something that may sound too simple to believe, but don't let the simplicity fool you. You are one disciplined year away from a completely different life. I've seen it, I've lived it, and I've watched others go from nothing to something, not through luck, not through a miracle, but through rhythm, through consistency, through deciding to make 12 months matter more than the last 12 years. The problem with most people is they're waiting for the big moment, the jackpot, the breakthrough. But success isn't a lottery ticket, it's a lifestyle. And lifestyles are built day by day, not in one lucky event. Most people fail because they act in sprints and expect marathon results. They start strong in January and fizzle out by February. But the wealthy, the fulfilled, the uncommon, they don't operate on moods. They operate on rhythm. I remember when I was broke, mentally and financially. I didn't need a decade of therapy or another motivational poster. I needed discipline. So I sat down and wrote a plan. A simple one. Read 30 minutes a day, track every dollar, no mindless spending, wake up early, reflect every night. I didn't aim to become a millionaire in 1 week. I aimed to become a person who could earn, manage, and multiply like one. And that's where the change began. What most people won't accept is that success can be engineered. If you wake up every day with a clear goal, work toward it intentionally, feed your mind with wisdom, and track your progress without excuse, you will not recognize yourself a year from now. That's not philosophy, that's arithmetic. If you improve your skill set by just 1% each week, where will you be 52 weeks from now? That's not theory, that's compound growth. But here's the caveat. You must treat your plan like oxygen, not optional essential. I always say, don't start the day until you've finished it on paper. That's the first sign of discipline. Most people walk into the day hoping it'll go well, hoping they'll have time. But hope is not a strategy. A calendar is, a journal is, a budget is, a routine is. And you don't need to do 1,000 things. Just a few vital ones over and over again. Make one good financial decision a day. Practice 1 hour of deep focus. Replace 30 minutes of scrolling with 30 minutes of reading. That alone can shift your entire future. Do that 365 times and wealth will stop being an idea. It will become your reality. So if you're asking when life changes, the answer is not someday. It's when you start. With structure, with discipline, with quiet daily choices. You're not far, you're just undisciplined. But the day you choose rhythm over randomness is the day you start living the life you were meant for. The day I stopped pointing fingers was the day I started moving forward. If you want to know why most people stay broke, it's not because they weren't smart enough or lucky enough or born in the right zip code. It's because they never made the shift from victim thinking to ownership thinking. And until that shift happens, no amount of opportunity, motivation, or money will stick. It'll just leak through the holes in their mindset. See, the victim mindset is easy. It's always got a scapegoat. The economy is bad. The boss doesn't pay enough. The government, the spouse, the upbringing, there's always something or someone else to blame. And when you blame, you give your power away. You declare yourself powerless. You declare that change depends on something outside of you. And the moment you believe that, you're stuck. And broke isn't just a bank account, it's a belief system. But ownership thinking, now that's where the door opens. That's where the climb begins. Ownership thinking doesn't deny the challenge. It just refuses to be owned by it. It says, yes, maybe I didn't have the best start, but I can finish differently. It says, maybe I made mistakes, but now I'll make adjustments. It says, what can I do with what I have? Starting right now, I remember when I had less than a few dollars to my name. I could have stayed in the story how my circumstances were unfair, how I didn't know what to do. But something inside me said, you can be upset or you can be responsible, but you can't be both. So I got a notebook. I wrote down my goals. I asked myself what skills I could build. I took inventory of my time, my habits, and my thinking. I stopped saying, why me? And started saying, what now? And let me tell you, when you take full responsibility, something shifts. Life stops happening to you and starts responding to you. You become a creator, not a complainer. You become resourceful. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. And most importantly, you start building the character required to sustain wealth, not just chase it. So if you're serious about changing your financial future, don't look at your bank account. First, look at your beliefs. Ask yourself, am I living like a victim of life or the owner of my life? Because personal responsibility is the seed of every breakthrough. Plant it today and you'll harvest wealth tomorrow. One of the quickest ways to stay broke is to stay blind. I mean it. You can work hard, dream big, and even earn well, but if you don't know where your money's going, it will always find a way to leave. You can't manage what you don't measure, and yet most people spend money the same way they waste time without any idea where it went. And then they wonder why wealth never seems to stick. You see, the broke mindset avoids numbers. It says, I'll check later, or it's probably fine. It treats bank statements like bad news and budgets like burdens. It's afraid of what it might find, so it doesn't look. But ignorance is not bliss, it's expensive. You can't fix what you refuse to face. On the other hand, the wealthy mindset, it embraces the numbers. It opens the bank app daily. It keeps a ledger, a spreadsheet, or a simple notebook. It tracks spending not to feel bad, but to take control. Because awareness is power. When you know where every dollar goes, you can begin to decide where every dollar should go. I remember sitting down with a young man who told me he couldn't save. Said he was living paycheck to paycheck with nothing left over. I said, show me your last 30 days. We pulled out his bank statements, and what did we find? He wasn't broke, he was bleeding. Streaming services, takeout, impulse Bismol leaks, but daily ones. I told him, it's not that you're not making enough, it's that your money is misbehaving, and it's because no one's been watching it. The very day he started tracking, everything changed. Not overnight wealth, but overnight awareness. And that awareness gave him options. He cut back on what didn't matter, redirected it towards savings, and began investing in his future just by counting the cost. Now let me tell you how simple this habit can be. You don't need a fancy system. Get a notebook or open a free app. Write down what comes in. Write down what goes out. Do it daily. Make it a ritual, like brushing your teeth or tying your shoes. It's just what you do, because people who respect their money keep it. Don't let your money be a mystery. Don't assume things are fine. If you want wealth to grow, you must know the soil it's planted in. Track every dollar, not someday, start today. Words are seeds, and if you're not careful, you'll be planting weeds in your mind every time you speak. Most people don't realize that their poverty doesn't start in their wallet yet. starts in their mouth. I've heard it 1,000 times. I can't afford that. People like me don't get rich. Money doesn't grow on trees. Well, no, it doesn't. But neither does wealth grow in the garden of self-sabotaging language. Now, I want you to think of the power of language. Your words are not just descriptions of your current situation, they're declarations of your future. Every time you say, "I'll never be wealthy," your subconscious writes that down like a command. Every time you say, "I can't afford it," your creativity shuts off. The mind stops looking for solutions and settles into limitation. Language is the first construction material of your belief system. And your beliefs create your results. When I was just starting out broke, discouraged, behind on everything, I realized something. I wasn't just financially poor. I was verbally poor. I had trained myself to think small and speak even smaller. It was like I had a financial thermostat set to struggle. So, I started paying attention to the words coming out of my mouth. I banned phrases like "I can't" and "I'm broke." I replaced them with "How can I?" and "What do I need to learn?" And let me tell you, that one shift changed the trajectory of my life. Because when you ask better questions, you get better answers. See, when you say "I can't afford it," your brain shuts down. But if you say, "How could I afford it?" your brain turns on. It starts to work. Maybe you need to cut an expense, add a side hustle, learn a new skill, or delay gratification. But now you're moving. You're thinking like a builder, not a beggar. I once met a woman who told me she'd never be rich because she was just a teacher. I said, "Strike the word "just" from your life." She began tutoring on the side, built a course, learned marketing, and 2 years later, she had more financial margin than she ever dreamed. What changed? Her words. Her words led her beliefs. Her beliefs led her actions. And her actions led her results. So here's my challenge to you. Audit your language. Listen to how you talk about money, your future, and your value. Eliminate scarcity phrases. Replace them with questions and possibilities. Because the first step to changing your finances is changing your vocabulary. Change your words, change your worth. When I began my journey, I wasn't smart in the way most people think of it. I didn't have a fancy degree. I didn't come from a wealthy background, and I certainly didn't have a mentor at first. But I discovered something that changed everything. Success doesn't come from what you know, it comes from what you're willing to learn. And not just once in a while, but every single day. If you want to break free from a broke mindset, the habit of daily learning is non-negotiable. It is the engine behind transformation. You can't become more without knowing more, and you won't know more unless you learn more. If you want to change your income, change what goes into your mind. The day you stop learning is the day you start settling. And settling, my friend, is just a slower form of failure. 30 minutes a day. That's all you need to start. Read something that stretches you. Listen to a podcast on investing or entrepreneurship while you commute. Dive into biographies of people who came from nothing and built something extraordinary. That's what I did. I didn't have cable television. I had Napoleon Hill. I had Earl Nightingale. I had books that cost less than lunch but taught more than college. And those 30-minute learning sessions turned into 30 years of results. Let me tell you how practical this is. Let's say you read just 10 pages a day. That's a book a month, 12 books a year. Do that for 5 years, and you've read 60 books on money, mindset, and mastery. Compare that to the person who hasn't finished one book since school. Who's going to be more valuable in the marketplace? Who's going to have more options, more insights, more influence? The answer is obvious. I once asked a young man what he had been reading lately. He shrugged and said, "I'm not much of a reader." I told him, "Then you better be great at lifting or digging, because if your mind doesn't work, your back will have to." He laughed nervously. But he got the point. Wealthy people don't avoid learning, they chase it. The habit is what matters. It's not about being perfect. Some days you might read, some days you listen, some days you just reflect on something powerful you learned. But the pattern is what pays off. Knowledge compounds just like money, slowly at first, then all at once. So make it a ritual, protect it, honor it. Because if you'll feed your mind like a millionaire, eventually your bank account will follow. When I was just getting started, I learned one of the most valuable lessons of my life. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. That wasn't just philosophy, it was reality. I looked around and realized I was spending time with people who complained more than they created, who laughed at ambition, who made fun of discipline, and who never once asked me about my goals or my growth. And it's no surprise I wasn't getting anywhere either. You see, broke mindsets are like cold, shyly contagious. You don't have to adopt someone's opinions verbally for their energy to shape yours. Just hang around people who talk about how nothing ever works, and soon enough you'll stop trying. Spend time with people who think wealth is a scam or that success only comes to the lucky, and your dreams will start shrinking, not growing. Because your environment is either your mirror or your mold. It reflects you or it shapes you. If you want to break free from a broke mindset, you've got to upgrade your environment. Start small. Go where ambition lives. That might mean attending a seminar, even if you don't know a soul there. It might mean volunteering to be in rooms where success is being discussed. Join groups that talk about investing, entrepreneurship, discipline, and self-improvement, not just gossip and grievance. And don't just listen, contribute. Ask questions. Be humble enough to learn, but bold enough to belong. I remember when I made the conscious decision to distance myself from what I called the complaining crowd. No resentment, no judgment, just distance. I didn't want their ceiling to become my roof. And in time, I found a new circle. People who read, who planned, who talked about ideas rather than other people. It changed me before I even changed my income. Just being around people who thought differently made me think differently. And that shift in thought is what made the results inevitable. Sometimes upgrading your environment means saying no to certain conversations. Sometimes it means walking alone for a season. Growth will make you outgrow people, and that's okay. Because freedom, wealth, and opportunity often live outside your comfort zone and beyond your current crowd. Now, this doesn't mean you cut everyone off. It means you choose your influences with intention. Because who you spend time with is not just a social decision, it's a financial one, a mental one, and a spiritual one. You need people who stretch you, not shrink you. So here's the challenge. Take inventory. Who lifts your standards? Who sharpens your thinking? Who makes you better by example? Get around those people and stay around them. Because your circle will either keep you stuck or pull you forward. Choose wisely. When people tell me they're broke, I often ask a simple question. What are you producing? Not what are you earning at your job, not what you're hoping for next month, but what are you building? Because broke thinking waits to be picked. Wealthy thinking builds something, even if it's small, even if it's slow, even if it's not perfect. Let me tell you what I learned early on. Your job gives you a paycheck, but it rarely gives you freedom. And freedom, not just money, is the goal. So how do you start stepping into that kind of freedom? You create a second income, a side stream, a backup plan that might just become the main one someday. And you don't need a degree or a corporation's permission to begin. You just need to look inside your own life and say, what can I offer that someone else finds valuable? When I was working long hours and had little to spare, I didn't wait for a bigger paycheck. I began teaching. Teaching ideas, teaching skills. I packaged my knowledge. It didn't make me rich overnight, but it gave me something powerful, leverage. It gave me options. It gave me confidence. And once you get a taste of income that isn't tied to someone else's time clock, you begin to think differently. Maybe you're good at organizing. That's a service. Maybe you can write, fix things, tutor kids, make websites, teach guitar. Maybe you bake, paint, plan, or coach. The market pays for value, and value comes in many forms. But value unused is wealth unreleased. So stop waiting to be discovered. Discover yourself. Package your skill. Offer your service. Sell your product. Even if it earns $200 a month, that's $200 worth of progress and belief you didn't have before. And here's the kicker. It's not just about the money, It's about the identity shift. People who build side income start to see themselves not just as employees, but as creators. And once you see yourself that way, you stop waiting for the world to fix your life. You begin to build your life. Of course, this takes time, effort, and rejection. But I'd rather face rejection from the market while trying than regret from life while waiting. So if you're tired of being broke, start producing. Don't just consume, don't just scroll, don't just wish. Make something, sell something, serve someone. Your next level of wealth isn't waiting for the economy to change. It's waiting for you to start. When I ask people how much they saved last month, many say, well, I tried, but there just wasn't enough left. That right there is the problem. The broke mindset saves what's left after spending. And what's usually left? Nothing. Now, wealthy thinking flips that order entirely. You don't save what's left. You spend what's left after saving. That's the shift. That's the philosophy that separates financial stress from financial strength. Here's what I learned from experience. If you make saving optional, it becomes invisible. You'll always find a reason to delay an unexpected bill, a birthday, a sale. That's why automation isn't just a trick, it's a financial discipline. You take the decision out of your hands because left to your emotions, you'll rationalize every dollar away. Instead, set up your bank to automatically send 10% of every income, source big or small, straight into savings or investments before you touch a penny. It doesn't matter if you're earning $500 a month or $5,000. The habit matters more than the amount. Because once you build a habit, the amount grows naturally. People think wealth is built through giant windfalls. It's not. It's built through consistentissmal deposits made over time without interruption. That's the true compounding effect. Not just financial interest, but habitual interest. You develop character that attracts more. I've met people who earn six figures and were still Brocano system. No discipline, no direction. And I've met others with modest incomes who became financially independent because they had one key strength: automation. They let the system work for them, not against them. Here's how I did it. The day money hit my account, 10% went to savings, 10% to investments, and the rest was mine to manage. I didn't touch the 20%. I treated it like a bill I couldn't skip like rent. That's the mindset. Wealth is not what you make, it's what you keep and grow. If you don't see your savings as non-negotiable, you'll never be free. People say, but what if I don't have enough to save? That's not the real question. The question is, can you afford not to? Because your future self will either be grateful or regretful depending on what you set in motion today. Wealth doesn't announce itself with noise that arrives quietly through repetition. So take the thinking out of it. Let systems serve you. Set it. Forget it. And let wealth grow in the background while you go to work on yourself. Discipline builds the door. Automation keeps it open. Most people stay broke not because they don't make enough, but because they spend too fast. The minute money comes in, it's gone. Not for emergencies, not for investments, but for impulse. Something shiny, something fun, something that screams now. And if you want to break free from the cycle, you must learn to kill that now urge. Because here's the truth. What feels good now often costs you later, and what's hard now often rewards you later. Wealthy thinking knows how to wait. See, the broke mindset is rooted in emotional spending. I deserve this. I worked hard. It was on sale. These are just different ways of justifying the same behavior. Spending without purpose. The rich mindset says, yes, I could, but I won't. That single sentence has saved me more money than any budgeting app. Not because I was trying to punish myself, but because I was trying to prepare myself. You've got to understand there's a difference between having money and keeping money. A big difference. And the space between those two is often controlled by one simple habit: delayed gratification. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. If you can wait 24 hours before making a non-essential purchase just one day, you'll be amazed how often the desire fades. That's the emotional detox. That's the pause that puts you in control. Let me give you a real example. Early in my journey, I walked into a store and saw a brand new suit. It fit perfectly. I felt sharp. I had the money, but I also had a principle. Wait. So I walked out. I told myself, if I still want it tomorrow, I'll come back. The next day, that same suit didn't feel like a priority. I took that money and put it into books and training instead. And years later, the mindset I gained from those decisions helped me afford 10 times the wardrobe if I wanted it. Delaying gratification isn't about denial, it's about direction. It's about saying, my future matters more than this moment. That's a hard thing to do in a culture addicted to instant everything, fast food, fast delivery, fast cash. But wealth isn't fast. It's patient. It waits for the wise. And wisdom is choosing long-term gain over short-term thrill. If you want freedom, you can't feed every urge. Practice the pause. Master the wait. Buy with intention, not emotion. Because every I'll wait plants a seed, and that seed, over time, becomes financial peace. It's easy to live by default. Days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and suddenly you're wondering where the year went and where your money went with it. Most people coast through their lives like that. They don't pause, they don't reflect, and they don't review. And that's exactly how they stay broke. Wealthy people think differently. They don't just experience life, they study it. They pause every week, look at where they've been, and adjust course for where they want to go. One of the greatest habits I ever adopted wasn't flashy, wasn't dramatic, it was simply this. Every week, I took time to sit down and review. I grabbed a notepad, sometimes just a quiet corner, and asked 3 questions. What worked? What didn't? What will I change? That's all. But those 3 questions changed everything. Because wealth doesn't come to those who live perfectly, it comes to those who live intentionally. Most people think the wealthy are lucky. No, most are simply aware. They know where their money is going. They know if their habits are aligned with their goals. They don't wait for a crisis to wake up. They wake up every week. The broke mindset avoids reflection. It's uncomfortable. But the wealthy mindset invites it. It's empowering. Take finances, for example. If you track your expenses daily, you're building awareness. But if you review them weekly, you're building wisdom. You can spot patterns. I spent too much eating out again. I forgot to cancel that subscription. I saved more this week. Why? That's how wealth grows. Not in the big moments, but in these small, honest audits. And it's not just about money. Review your habits, your energy, your relationships. Did you spend time with the right people? Did you move your body? Did you invest in your mind? Success is built on micro adjustments made repeatedly over time. The weekly review is where those adjustments are born. I remember mentoring a young man who told me he couldn't get ahead. He worked hard, saved little, and felt stuck. I asked him, "Do you ever sit down and review your week?" He said, "No, I just hope next week is better." That's the problem. Hope is not a strategy. You must evaluate if you want to elevate. And let me tell you, when he finally built that habit, things changed. He started catching his own mistakes. He saw what worked. He stopped waiting and started steering. That's the difference between coasting and course correcting, between broke and building. So once a week, just pause, reflect, get honest, take notes. Because if you can turn your experiences into strategies, then no week is ever wasted and no goal is ever out of reach. Most people wake up and fall straight into reaction, check the phone, feel the stress, chase the day. That's broke thinking. It's the mindset of survival. And when you're always reacting, always responding, you're never creating. The wealthy don't start their day by responding to the world. They start by reminding themselves where they're going. They build the future in their mind before they ever build it in the world. One of the most powerful habits I ever learned was simple. Every morning, I would take a few quiet minutes to visualize the future I was working toward. I'd see the home I wanted, the impact I wanted to have, the freedom I wanted to earn. I'd see it, feel it, and connect with it. Why? Because you can't move toward a future you can't see. The mind works best when it has a target. The average person is lost in the fog of now. They're overwhelmed, distracted, and emotionally exhausted. And that's because they don't have a vision strong enough to pull them through the pressure. When you don't know where you're going, every little challenge feels bigger than it is. But when you do know where you're going, every obstacle becomes just part of the path. There's something deeply human about needing a picture. We are visual creatures. And when you paint a vivid picture of your future every morning, something inside you comes alive. You begin to walk taller, act braver, speak differently, spend differently. You're not just drifting anymore, you're driven. I used to sit with young entrepreneurs and ask them, "Where are you going?" Most would shrug. "I don't know. I just want to make more money." That's not enough. The mind rejects vague goals. But say this, "I see myself living in that home, leading that business, creating that lifestyle for my family." Now the mind knows what to aim for. Now the actions begin to align. Every morning, take 5 minutes. Close your eyes. Breathe. Then see not just what's around you, but what's ahead of you. See yourself making wise choices. See yourself saving and investing. See the income rising because you increased your value. See the lives you'll touch, the causes you'll support, the freedom you'll enjoy. Feel it now and let that vision energize your day. Because the person who holds the clearest picture of the future always wins. That picture becomes fuel. It gives purpose to the discipline and clarity to the decisions. Wealth starts in the imagination long before it shows up in the bank.